It's Transwars96 here with another video review. This time we have the Star Wars Force Awakens Hot Toys Kylo Ren figure. Very excited to actually get this one and excited to review it. So let's get started, but before we go into the actual figure, let's go over his accessories. As far as the selection of hands go, you get a few decent ones, basically just the very basics. You get a pair of fists, pair of relaxed palms, pair of hands for holding the lightsaber, and then one left hand that's using the Force quite aggressively. Obviously you do get the basics here. I don't really think that this is enough. I think that Hot Toys has really, they always skimp on the hands in my opinion, just give you the absolute basics like I've said. I really would have liked in a right hand that was doing that kind of aggressive force using. I also would have liked an extra set of hands for doing a more relaxed force using, something more where the, back two fingers are a little bit more curled and that the front two are a bit more straight, something like that, just something that's more relaxed but still using the Force. We see him do that type of thing in the movie and everything, so it would have been nice to get that. Unfortunately, we only get one Force hand, and then you get the others that are just the absolute basics of what we always get. So, hands-wise, I'm a little disappointed with our selection. Alright, for the base, you do get the standard kind of first order base. Obviously, this is the new Star Wars Force Awakens bases. The bad guys have the first order symbol on theirs, and then the good guys will have the resistance symbols on theirs. Really do like the base design. I think it's very cool. You do have the Star Wars Kylo Ren written on there, and I love the glossy top with the emblem. Very nice, and it does come with the cradle piece. The only problem with mine particularly is that on my first one it did have quite a smudge on the side here that was white. You couldn't get it off or anything, which is definitely a big disappointment. I did get a replacement from Sideshow which was completely screwed up. The entire top was just had this weird marking on it. I don't really know how to explain it. I still have that base. I think I'll probably do a separate video where I will explain some of my exchanges from Sideshow, but that was just kind of crazy. And then finally they sent me another one, this one, which is in good condition. So I did have to go through a couple Kylo Ren bases to get one that didn't have a flaw, but I do still like the base a lot. You basically get two versions of lightsaber. This is the regular lightsaber, just the one that he can hold. Really do like the detailing at the actual handle. Looking extremely nice, almost like there's a small screw there. Very, very neat. I do like that a lot, and I do like the red wire, and it's painted extremely well. You get the nice kind of, I don't know what you call those, lightsaber effect pieces. Very cool. I do like the ones on the side there. Unfortunately, with mine, it came with one of these side pieces that the end was not painted. It was actually still clear plastic, which was really disappointing. And I was able to get a replacement from Sideshow, just like I did with the base, which, as you can see, has it fully painted. So another small issue on my personal Kylo Ren figure. But I really do like it a lot, and they sculpted the blades with some texturing coming out of the sides to make it look more fluid, which is quite nice. But they didn't go overboard with it, so I really do like the way that they designed this lightsaber. The next lightsaber that you get is the one that's attached to his forearm there, which does house the electronics so that you can have it light up. You will only get one set of the blades though. The blades that I just talked about on this lightsaber, you have to take off and then put onto the other lightsaber. But you do get two handles, and this handle is attached to this arm, and this hand is attached to this arm piece, and it does still swivel. So there is some articulation in there, even with the wires being connected. What makes this one special, of course, is the light up feature. As you can see, just, with all the lights on it, you could still see a difference when I turned it on. But when I turn it off especially, that's awesome. Unfortunately, it doesn't reach very far. You do get some of the light at the bottom, but right there, that's just beautiful. I've taken a lot of pictures with this guy, and he just looks fantastic with this lightsaber lit up. Very neat, very cool. I like it. It's a nice strong light, and it looks really good. The only problem with it is, obviously, you have to unzipper his sleeve. You have to plug this into his his elbow, and then you can zip it back up, but then you can't get to the switch, which is very annoying. So basically I just had to leave it unzipped to be able to turn it on and off, which was definitely a pain, and would have very much liked the switch to be like either on the lightsaber or on the hand itself. You know, I think that would have been much better and much easier, and I would have probably just left this on the figure if that had been the case. But unfortunately I do just display it with the regular lightsaber because I don't want to deal with having to get to the switch through his actual clothing. Alright, on to the actual figure. Let's start off with this head sculpt, or the helmet basically. Unfortunately there isn't a head sculpt. This would be my biggest complaint about the figure, is that we don't have an Adam Driver head sculpt. Everybody's talked about this though in their review, so I won't dwell on it, but it is an extremely important accessory, and it's not like there was one scene where he didn't have the helmet on. He spent most of his scenes, and well, maybe not most, but he spent the most important scenes without the helmet on, which is why that's completely necessary. I'm not quite sure why Hot Toys didn't include it, whether there was a problem with getting the actor's license, but I don't think that that's the case. You know, I'm not quite sure. They might have just rushed this figure, which is why they didn't do the head sculpt, because this figure obviously came out extremely early. You know, it came out basically right before the movie came out, which is incredibly early for Hot Toys, so that's possibly why we didn't get the head sculpt. I would have preferred to wait and actually get a proper Kylo Ren figure with an Adam Driver head sculpt. Unfortunately, we didn't, though. Going over the actual helmet, I think that it's quite nice. I do like the silver paint a lot, and over the mouthpiece especially, I think that there's some excellent detail in there with weathering and just spots in general. I think just looks awesome. You can see in his like eye socket area, it is kind of like a cloth material in there, which does look quite interesting. And then that excellent detail that's on the mouthpiece completely continues throughout the entire head sculpt or helmet. I think it's fantastic, and it's definitely the Hot Toys quality that we know and that we buy the figures for. So I really do like that a lot. Going into the actual clothing, the clothing I think is excellent. They've done a wonderful job sculpting the entire thing and giving it a really natural look, which, you know, with clothing can be difficult because obviously it hangs much differently on a small 12-inch figure rather than a human being. So, you know, sometimes it can look unnatural, especially with hoods. Luckily, in this case, the hood looks awesome. I absolutely love the hood, especially from like this angle. That's beautiful. It looks like it hangs so well and so naturally. There is a wire in the outside of the hood, so you can pose it to get it to where you like. I really haven't messed with that wire at all. This figure kind of came out of package with a perfect hood, and I really haven't messed with it because I wanted to keep it that nice, because it really looks fantastic, especially when he's looking to his left. So I do like that a lot. His kind of like scarf area does look very nice. It bunches up naturally and everything. It is a little, you know, coming apart a bit at the edges on purpose. That obviously looks very nice, and it is accurate to the movie. And you have some incredible detail in there. Look at all that little detail. Beautiful. Absolutely love it. The pieces on his arm there, his sleeves, look very nice as well. They are, all the little lines and the layers of it are done very nicely, and I do like how they come down to kind of go a little bit past the wrist to kind of like go onto their hand, or his hand. I think that looks quite nice. The belt is very good. It does look like a leather, and it does seem to be sculpted quite nicely. And then of course that fantastic detail that you saw on the scarf there, that continues throughout this entire figure. Absolutely gorgeous. Really do like it a lot. His pants, if you get through the first layer of the clothing here, his little skirt area, let me take that off, hold on. Alright, you move that to the side, you're going to have another layer of this little clothing. This is very light material. You take that back, you do have his like very short skirt type of thing, which uses the same type of material and style as the sleeves do. And then under that is his actual clothing. I don't know what type of clothing you call this. It's you know, the type that when it rubs against each other, it does make a squeaking sound. It does look quite good though, and it is baggy, which allows him to have great articulation, which is nice. And then his boots are done pretty well. I think that the boots are maybe the thing that's not sculpted or slash painted that fantastic. It does look nice, you know, and I do like how the straps around it look like it's actually bunching up the material. However, just the kind of the brown wash that they put it through, it doesn't match the quality of the rest of the figure, and maybe that's just in my opinion, but to me, it does look like the brown wash takes away from the intensity of it rather than adds to it. But it's such a minor complaint, and it does look extremely nice. So, clothing-wise, I think that he has an absolutely fantastic sculpt, and really do love all the clothing on this figure. Alright, as far as articulation, this guy is super well articulated, very exciting, and I'm really happy about that in general. The head has excellent articulation. You can look up extremely far, as you can see. He can look down quite far, really only restricted by his clothing there slightly, and then of course side to side he can tilt his head an extreme amount, give him a really weird, creepy look. You can really do whatever you want with the head, which is excellent. Obviously the only restrictions are what he's going to look good with having the hood on, basically. The arms and shoulders, they do like have, it feels almost like a butterfly joint in there, as well as obviously full range in the actual shoulder. This costume does not hinder articulation, and it's a sturdy cloth too. It's not like something like you're gonna get with Superman or Vision, where it has stitching on it and it's like more of a rubber costume. This actually is just complete cloth, which means it won't maintain wrinkles very much at all, and it really doesn't hinder it, and it won't stress the costume either. So he has the great articulation just like those other guys, but you don't have to worry about his costume being damaged by articulating him that way. So it's quite excellent, you know, best of both worlds basically. Double hinge elbow, which has no restrictions. You got ball hinge wrist, of course. He does have a ball jointed upper torso. Because he has so many layers of clothing in the torso, it is hard to manipulate it, but you can get a little bit out of it, but definitely not much. Really the only place where he has some restriction. Because of his baggy pants, you can get a really nice kick there. Goes up quite far and goes out quite far as well. As you can see, here's his legs. They go out extremely far, which is just awesome. Double hinge knees, which aren't hindered in the slightest. Make sure you can get a look at that. Beautiful. Love it. And then even with boots, this is all one piece. This isn't like they have separated the foot from the boot or anything. It's all one piece, but it's rubber enough where you can get an awesome ankle pivot. Beautiful, and it obviously swivels and it'll go up and down as well. So excellent articulation. This guy receives 100% on articulation. The only place where it's slightly hindered is the torso, which is, you know, definitely not super important, and he maintains all the articulation that you could want to put him in some spectacular poses. The only, you know, and I don't know if you qualify this as articulation, but the only thing that I would have liked to see is some wires in these little in the little, what do you call these, skirt pieces, I guess. It would have been awesome to get some wires in there to really like do it so that they're kind of flowing in the wind if he's turning really fast or something like that. That would have been really awesome, because they're their material is so thick that they don't lay super flush, you know. If they were going for not putting the wires in so that it would lay really nicely, then I would understand it, but because they didn't give us that material, it doesn't lay super nicely anyway, so it would have been really awesome to get some wires in here to really do some dynamic stuff with. That's a small complaint though, and it's not something that I really expected them to do. It would have just been nice if they had done it in general. Alright, a little size comparison here. Here we have Kylo Ren standing next to a First Order Stormtrooper. As you can see, taller than the Stormtrooper, which is a must-have, basically. Even if in real life, you know, most of the Stormtroopers are taller than Kylo Ren, you still want one that's shorter anyway, just because obviously it looks cooler to have the Sith Lord or the, you know, Force user from the dark side have the army be shorter than him. So it does look very nice. I do think that Adam Driver is quite tall in real life anyway, which makes sense why this figure is quite a bit tall as well. So I do think that they did the size pretty perfectly, I would say. You know, this is my only Star Wars figure I have to compare it with from The Force Awakens. I do have plenty more on pre-order though, so as they come in and I do reviews for them, I will put in Kylo Ren so you can see a size comparison between like Rey, Finn, and Phasma with Kylo Ren here. But he is quite a tall figure. I believe he stands, you know, a little bit over 12 inches, I would say. Alright, so this Kylo Ren figure is fantastic in my opinion. Where it excels really hard. The only point which I would say is a downfall in this figure is accessories. You know, the accessories that he comes with are nice, but I would have liked to see some more hands that he came with, as well as a melted or burnt Darth Vader helmet. I think that's very important for this figure, and I really don't understand why we didn't get that. And then most of all, I'm baffled as to why we didn't get an Adam Driver head sculpt. So, unfortunately, you know, with one category, this guy completely fails, and, you know, accessory-wise, he really misses the mark. But on everything else, from the clothing design to the actual weathering and painting, and especially articulation, he excels on without any competition, basically. Out of this world, really fantastic, and I absolutely love this figure. One more thing I wanted to mention that I forgot to talk about when I was going over the clothing that I did want to mention is that his arms, I really love the body, or the arms that they have underneath the costume. I think that they just look quite nice, and you really see the muscle definition in there, due to the fact that his the material on his arms is pretty form-fitting on his arms, so you can really see that muscle definition, which is awesome. And also, that's just another compliment to the articulation, that the arms are very tight cloth. They are actually, you know, completely covering the arms and wrapping around them, which is why you can see those muscles, but at the same time, they don't hinder articulation, even though they're so tight, which is really fantastic. So, overall, excellent figure. I absolutely love it. Would have completely liked it to have a Adam Driver head sculpt, though, and, you know, I don't know if I would have displayed him with the Driver head sculpt. I think that the Kylo Ren mask is a little more iconic to Kylo Ren, I guess, but I could definitely see displaying him like that for a while at least. So I would have definitely liked to see that. Hopefully in the future we will get a newer version. I would actually just love them to do a new version right now, and to do like a Star Killer based fight version where he has some snow on his costume, and give us an Adam Driver head sculpt and some new accessories, and, you know, a burnt Darth Vader helmet. I think that would be awesome, and maybe give him some battle damage things, you know. That would have just been so cool. So hopefully in the future, and I believe so in the future, probably with Star Wars 8, we will get a newer version of Kylo Ren that comes with the proper accessories. But for now, this is an excellent figure, and I would highly recommend it for any Star Wars fan, and especially Force Awakens fan. Alright, there's my review of the Star Wars Hot Toys Kylo Ren. Thanks so much for watching.